Star Wars when he's frozen. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, it's the same sort of thing. Or that Mel Gibson movie. Do you remember that Mel Gibson movie where he's frozen? No? Okay. It's a good one. Forever Young, I think maybe. Anyways, so this is him stable. He's got an internal thermometer down his throat. He's got, a feeding tube down his throat. He's got a breathing tube down his throat. He's just covered in wires and IVs. And we weren't allowed to touch him because if we touched him, then we would warm him up. And so he just laid there shivering. And God bless him. My pastor and the hospital chaplain came in the middle of the night. Their hair was messy, their collar was crooked, their shirts weren't tucked in quite right, but they were there, and they said, we understand, Travis, that you did an emergency baptism at home, and so we would like to offer that your son can be confirmed. And, I wish your priest was still here, because God bless our priests. That in these moments, when Travis and I felt completely hopeless, there was nothing we could do to parent our child. We couldn't even touch him. We couldn't even hold him. There was nothing we could do. And so the church, through these priests, steps in and says, we're going to give him every grace needed so that he can die a holy death. And I knew that's what they were saying, because in the Roman Catholic rite, babies do not get confirmed. So I knew they were saying, the doctors have told us your child's going to die. We would like to offer this to you. And it was such a gift, you guys. It was such a gift. But of course, because I was like, in I'm in shock land, I said, well, what will happen when he's in 7th grade? And there was this awkward look exchange where they're like, are you gonna tell her? And so Monsignor was like, he'll just serve at the Mass. So there you go. But I had wanted James to be named Linus Fulton, and Travis was like, there's no way we're doing that. So when they asked if we had a confirmation name, I was like, Linus! And no one was going to tell me no, so James was confirmed Linus. And I don't know if you can tell, but we are just, the look on our face, we are just tired and in shock. This is us praying to our Father. We didn't know what was going on, but we had hope, we had hope. The doctors warned us, no one goes an hour without a heartbeat and really lives, And so the doctors believed that there would be massive organ failure, and James was born on a Thursday, so they didn't know if James would live through that day. They didn't think he would live through the weekend, and he would definitely not live to be a week old, just because his organs would one by one shut down. But it's not what happened. If it were darker in here, you could see this picture better. But basically, this is James's leg that was going to be amputated because it was dead from the chemical burn from the ambulance. At 1 day old, ooh, thank you. You're hired. At 1 day old, all that's left, wait, I'm too close. Right here, there's a dark patch. Around it is a red ring. There's a similar patch on the other side of his leg. The rest of his leg is a healthy pink. His medical record said the leg was dead. A surgeon came to talk about it being amputated, if that would be needed, if he would live long enough for that to be needed. And there it is, already healing. So then they said, okay, well, he's probably going to live for a little while, but he'll basically be a vegetable. They didn't use that word. In the NICU, they like to give you hope. But we knew that he would never breathe on his own. It would be a very difficult existence. This is just a couple of days. And he is retaining fluids, about 2 to 3 pounds of fluids. And I remember saying to the NICU nurses and doctors, okay, we have people praying literally all over the world for our son. Give us specific prayer requests. What does he need? And so this nurse said, well, he needs to pee. And he needs to pee this many fluid ounces in this many hours. And so I went home and I blasted all over the internet, you gotta pray for pee, folks. And the next day, I came back and I said, well, how is he doing? And they said, oh my goodness, not only did he peed out of his catheter and he pooped. And that was amazing. Because in the hierarchy of your organs, I mean, your brain, your heart, your lungs, those are like, top 3. Kidneys, liver, things like that are important. Colon, it's important, but it's not as important. So the fact that his colon was working was amazing. It was amazing. 6 days old, he's breathing room air. This is a kid who was never going to breathe again, unassisted. 6 days old, I'm holding him, he's breathing room air. The doctors, though, knowing what they know about the body, they warned us, okay, he's going to be blind. We think he's going to be blind. He'll probably have the intelligence of an infant for the rest of his life. He'll be tube fed. He'll never be able to eat. He'll always be in diapers. He'll have cerebral palsy so severely that he will be bound to a wheelchair for the rest of his life, and his body will be probably locked into this contorted position, his hands clenched in fists, his arms kind of twisted, his legs kind of twisted, probably his torso twisted. And I remember feeling like, okay, God, you told me that babies were gifts. And then you took my baby away. You took the gift away, which is what, excuse my language, that's what crappy gift givers do, But then you gave him back, and it was this amazing thing. And then through all these lists of severe disabilities, I just felt like God was taking my child away from me bit by bit all over again. And it's, it's kind of this sterile list of blind, feeding tube, diapers, cerebral palsy. But what that meant to me as his mother was that he would never see my face. He would never see me smile at him. He would never be able to hold my hand because it would be, he would never be able to go trick-or-treating and eat the candy. He'd never be able to have First Communion. He'd never be able to lay prostrate on the ground and become a priest or get down on a knee and ask a girl to marry him. And I was so mad at God because I had believed him. I had believed that babies were gifts, and this was not the gift that I wanted. It was not the gift that I wanted. And I realized, as I sat there in my anger, that I could either sit there in my anger and in my despair, or I could choose to remember what I knew about God and to live that. And what I knew about God is that God is faithful and he is generous. I wanted to live in the light. I did not want to live in the darkness. And so I chose to hope. And I chose to thank God for his generosity, and thank God for his faithfulness, and thank God for the way he had provided for us all during James's pregnancy, and to trust that that was not over, that God was not finished. After 7 long weeks in the NICU, we went home. And I'll tell you what, that was scary. And they were like, oh, we send 14-year-old girls home with their NICU babies, you'll be fine. And I was like, I don't know. And you know what, I was a mess, I was a hot mess. But I was right, they were wrong. But by the time James was 1, this is what he looks like. Adorable. He was sent home with a feeding tube, but we didn't use it, and after a few months, it was removed. And once that feeding tube was gone, he started meeting milestones. He was crawling, he was cruising, he was eating food, doing a little pinch of grass thing, you know. He was meeting milestones. He was graduating from all the special resources that he was going to need. So much so that I was talking to my mom, and she said, you know, Bonnie, God gave us this miracle. And there was one day in particular where James had, when he was in the NICU, he had imaging done of his brain that showed that there had been brain damage. And there was a follow-up MRI, and that follow-up MRI showed a perfectly healthy brain. And my mom said, you need to call the Sheen Foundation, the ones who are promoting his cause, and you need to tell them about this miracle. And I was like, oh, Mom, they have people every day call and tell them about miracles. And she was like, okay, well, just call them so they can put it like in a file folder somewhere, okay? So I was obedient to my mother, because that was a commandment from God. And I called, and what's great is, like, I know the nuns who work in the Sheen Foundation. It's like, oh, Sister Ann, yeah, hey, I want to tell you this story about my son. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah. I tell her the story, and she's like listening politely, and at the end she said, so he didn't have a heartbeat for 61 minutes. And I said, no, sister, he did not. And she said, and now he's normal, he's totally healthy. And I said, yeah, sister, he is. And she said, let me get a pencil. Suddenly she was gonna take notes. And so, you know, we have 2 more kids. This is life with small children. You can't get a good view of the picture right now. But, you know, if you look at this picture of my children, and I said, oh, one of these kids was dead for an hour, would you know which one? You wouldn't know which one. It's the one in the blue shirt. But I mean, that's what the miracle looks like. And so in September of 2011, when James was 1, a tribunal was opened by the Sheen Foundation in the Diocese of Peoria, where they did extensive interviews. They looked at medical records, and I'm going to kind of breeze through this part. 3 months later, the tribunal closed, and this is another just stellar family picture. This is from the Mass, the closing Mass. And all of these, you know, these are the witness testimony, the medical records, and there was packages of them, wrapped up in red ribbon, sealed with sealing wax. They were sent to the Vatican. June 28th of 2012, Fulton Sheen was declared venerable, which basically meant the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, and it was Pope Benedict at the time, right? Oops. Okay, Pope Benedict. Thank you. You know, they looked at everything, the whole summary of Fulton Sheen's life, his works, his writings, his preaching, and they said, yes, this is a man who loved Jesus, who preached the truth. Everything he did was in line with the teachings of the Catholic Church. We believe that he is someone who could be, you know, lifted up. On the 28th, he's declared venerable. On the 29th, James's alleged miracle is officially submitted to the Vatican. It's in what they call a positio, which is like a position paper, where the guy with the short tie, this man right here, he's the postulator, so he wrote the positio that was submitted. March 2014, the medical advisors who advised the Congregation for the Causes of Saints, that board of medical experts unanimously approved James's miracle as a medical miracle that had no scientific or medical explanation. June 2014, there's a team of theologians who studied the positio, and they unanimously approved James's miracle as being through the intercession of Fulton Sheen. This is James at 2 years old. And basically he's 7 now, but he pretty much looks exactly the same. He's bigger. But right now there's a slight pause in the cause. But my hope and prayer is that very soon the cause will reopen, and at that point the Positio will go to the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. If they approve the miracle, it will go to Pope Francis. If he approves the miracle, Fulton Sheen will be beatified in Peoria. You are all invited. Not to my home, I don't have room, but, but to the beatification. And then we'll need a miracle. And wouldn't it be amazing if we had Fulton's miracle? I want to say all of this. Me standing here right now, Fulton Sheen's sainthood, James's miracle, hopefully the miracle that Fulton Dobbs will get, all of this is for the honor and glory of God. It has nothing really to do with me or our babies or Fulton Sheen even. It's all about Jesus Christ and him being praised. And I would ask, I went a little bit over, I apologize for that, but I would ask that if we could all pray for Fulton Sheen's intercession for miraculous healing for Fulton Dobbs at this point. Is that okay? Okay. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Eternal Father, you alone grant us every blessing so that we don't take Jesus Christ. By working of the Holy Spirit, in every Lord to raise up and glorify us, strengthen our church, follow Jesus, by granting the favor and honor of us, in his prayer of intercession, complete healing for Fulton Dobbs. I make this prayer confidently through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So that's all that I had. I thank you so much for your attention.